Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to Toddy's World. We're live again. See, we're gonna watch this video put together by Free Investing. I don't know how to say it. It's like free and investing put together as one word. Is this shit so blurry? That's better. All right, so let's get started. He's going to talk about the collapse. This is the guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. When it comes to finances, I haven't heard him say anything dumb. Or I'm no expert on Robert Kiyosaki, but this says that he predicts mayhem in 30 days, and the video was posted 7 days ago. So we got 23 more days. 23 more days from the 23rd. In the 23rd year. Lots of 23s. Anyway, here, let's go. Oh, that didn't work.
The Central Bank of the United States was founded in 1913. Guess what else was founded in 1913? Tax Department. And so when you look at all this, and then you can read Marx, he says that a progressive income tax is necessary for the spread of communism. And then when they cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, inflation went through the roof. Now the poor are already poor. But when you raise inflation, the price of fuel, the middle class got poor. Now,
so on that very first thing he said, would you think that the central bank had in mind that, they already had it in mind that they were going to go into communism? The end goal is a Marxist society. You think they knew that when they started it in 1913? After they sunk the Titanic with the three most influential Americans on board that could have stopped it, they sunk the Titanic. Don't ask me who they is.
When I shop, I look around and I go, the retailers, everything's on sale. I can't help myself. But I feel for the retailers right now because the customers are going broke. So is the intent evil? I suspected it was going to get bad. Most of my books, I cannot say what I want to say. I said we're going to crash big time. Yeah. In 2008, damn right it crashed. And we're still crashing today. Dalio says we're now in a depression. So that's why I speak what I said. And so Freedom Press even.
Yeah, we're definitely in a recession. Even though the Biden administration and Jen Psaki and everybody, Janet Yellen, now say, "Oh, it's transitory," but it's not. It's not. It's just we're stuck here for a while. But apparently, it's going to fall apart though, real soon. So it won't be that long, right?
Even I got censored there. So what's
Oops.
happening to America? So we're here with Mark Moss. He did a report on this guy named Klaus Schwab, which I've only heard rumors about. So that's why this program is a very important show to find out what's going on. And we're discussing a very important subject.
Since 1971, what's happened with the income inequality, the obesity rate, the incarceration rate, the divorce rate?
So what he's saying right now is in 1971, something happened that caused people to get fat, people to get divorced, people to be poor. Everything started to fall apart in 1971.
The median income, debt levels, everything since 1971. Why since 1971? It's the year we got off the gold standard. So you can see it's 100 charts that show what that WTF happened in 1971. And you can see it's just crazy.
So one major thing that we got going right now is the competition with the BRICS nations. They're all gold backed, or at least physical metal backed currencies, and we're not. We're just fiat, based on nothing.
And the reason why I start with that is because when was the World Economic Forum founded? And so the whole world went off the rails in 1971 when you distort the money.
So gold
distortions,
and
one of those
World Economic Forum.
It was in 1972 I realized what had happened. I was flying in Vietnam, and that's when I went on the gold standard. And I bought my first little Krugerrand in Hong Kong for about $50.
A lot of people might have heard of something like Davos, where every year the world leaders, a lot of people call them the world elite. I don't like to use that word. They're not elite in anything. None of us would hire them in our business. But the world leaders, the policy makers, if you will, the think tankers, they get together every year at
Golden
Davos. And so
spoon
you hear like the
assholes.
Davos man in reference to something. What their policy is this public-private partnership. It's politicians and business people getting together, public and private, getting together.
So what do you think happens when that goes on? Like, I guess that's what the lobbyists are. The end result in that is corruption. Just like that video where Jimmy Dore is saying the United States of corruption. It's pretty bad. Anytime you get anything done, somebody's got to get greased.
To set policy. So they get together every year in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum. And so it was founded by this guy, Klaus Schwab. And he's created this think tank, bringing these people together to try to figure out a better way, a more equitable way to run the world. Watch out. Anytime you see that word equitable, you know what they're talking about. They're talking about Marxism. And so what he's done is he's just taken the same ideas. You said we haven't seen this before, but of course we have. It's the same ideas being rehashed globally. And so it's just Marxism all over. So they get the world leaders together, the politicians, the public, and the private, and they come together in what he's calling stakeholder capitalism. Stakeholder capitalism. So instead of, we talked about last night at dinner how Rothbard said that businesses should focus.
That's not gonna fly here. It's just not gonna fly. It's gonna have to fall apart before they can make the United States participate in some bullshit like that.
Focus on profit. He says, no, business shouldn't focus on profit. Business should focus on the community, ESG, environmental, social, governance. We should be equitable. And so basically distorted all these things, but they want to do it through power, through control, forcing people to comply instead of educating people and showing people better ways. And so they've done it through the public.
If we don't push back, the globalists will win. They will.
A partnership. So basically through the money. So now if you don't fall in line with what their policies are, no money for you, no investment for you, right? And if these big companies don't follow along with their policies and push these things down, they don't get the funding, and then they basically get pushed out of the city. And so for the last 12 years, I've studied the macro. I learned a concept called wealth transfers. Money doesn't disappear, it transfers. And so when I lost my wealth, somebody else got that. I didn't like that.
That's a very good point.
And it's happening today. And so I realized there's certain times and conditions where these wealth transfers happen. And so I've spent the last 12 years studying these wealth transfers to figure out how do I get on the receiving end instead of being on the receiving end of those things. I reference quite often what Henry Kissinger said, which was maybe a warning to the world, but I think it was more of a call to arms on their side. So he said, if you control the food, you control the people. If you control the energy, you control the continent. If you control the money, you control the world.
Just back.
Well, there's definitely some shit going on with our food, with our energy, and with our money. All right now, it's all bad for you and me. It's all bad. Food plants blowing up, catching on fire. Whole chicken houses getting the bird flu, and they got to kill 5 million chickens. Shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline on our energy. Gas goes through the roof. Then that messes with our money. Somebody left a comment on my other video about how we have a globalist elite puppet in the office, and so they're going to get everything that they want. And I mean, it's kind of hard not to see it.
A lot of people don't know who Kissinger was. Oh, he's still around.
So he's Secretary of State, right?
For Nixon.
Yeah.
He opened the door to China.
But also instrumental throughout Europe as well. During that time of the coming out of the World War II, kind of redrawing the world and setting peace and stuff like that. So he was very influential, and he still is today. What are the attack vectors today? So food. We're running out of food. Per the UN, I think it's 868 million people could starve to death in the next 24 months.
That's insane. I want to know really when this interview was. I'll have to maybe try to find it. Will I? Probably not. But I've been worried that things are going to fall apart. For the last 2 years, I've been worried about it already.
Well, you look at what's happening in Sri Lanka today.
Yeah.
There's much rioting going on and all this because it's corruption. And basic corruption is what it is, but they're starving.
Yeah, they're starving.
And the Ukraine is going to starve a lot of people.
They're starving and they have no energy. Sri Lanka has the best ESG score in the world, 98 out of 100. They had put out an article.
So just not even just about the chicken houses and the factories blowing up. This Ukraine thing affects our food massively because all the fertilizer, no, not all, but a huge chunk of fertilizer comes from that region. And we need that to grow. We need that to grow our food, and they need to grow food, but they're not. They're in a war. Ukraine produces like 40% of the world's wheat or some kind of shit like that. It's ridiculous. It's a huge amount. You think they're farming right now? I don't think so.
Well, 2 years ago said that by 2025, they were going to be one of the richest nations. They were going to be the poster child for ESG, how environmentally sound you are, low impact on environment, your social score, and then your governance. Do you have diversity on your board and all of these things? They were going to be the poster child for this. They proclaimed that we will be the best by 2025. They said by 2025, we'll be one of the richest nations in the world.
That government collapsed.
Sri Lanka coming apart at the seams right now.
They're completely gone. They defaulted on their bonds. They got no money. Nobody will loan them any more money. They don't have any money to import any energy, so they have no energy, and they're gone. It's important to understand, too, like where we're at in the world, right, with this peak centralization, central planning.
Right. I wonder where all those people will migrate to.
Because they don't have enough data. They know they don't have enough data. You can't organize billions of people, right, that they're trying to. And so central planning is World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization.
Fauci.
Yeah, World Meteorological Association, and then the UN, the IMF, the BIS,
Bank of International Settlements.
Nobody knows what the BIS is, and the BIS,
central bank.
The central bank of central banks, exactly. The way I see the world on the org chart, the BIS sits at the top. Below the BIS, then you have some of these think tanks, so the World Economic Forum, the Club of Rome, and so they're the policy makers, and then they push it down to the next row in the org chart.
So right now we're on track. Like they got this Agenda 2030. Like I guess we're supposed to be a certain way by 2030. If Hillary had got in 16, we would already pretty much be there. Thank God she didn't win, and we got 4 years of Trump kind of reversing things. And I know as everybody's gonna say, "Oh well, he's corrupt too," but he's really for the people. Like he don't have to. He didn't increase his wealth as the president. All these other people in office and doing all these government jobs, they're increasing their wealth drastically by doing illegal shit like insider trading.
To the policy enforcers, which
let this run for a minute. I'm talking too much.
The government sit a few levels down, so it's really a coup of the bankers, and they use this banker, the BIS at the top, to push these ideas through the think tanks and then down to the policy enforcers, and then we're down at the bottom of the subjects of all that, right? So Klaus is kind of running this. He's sitting on top of the world, hobnobbing with all these people, flying their private jets over to Davos, telling us that we need to cut back on our energy, telling us that we need to eat the bugs. This is on their website. They're talking about why we should be eating bugs or more sustainable. Nicole Kidman, she made a commercial, I think 2 weeks ago, of her actually.
I can't just let it keep going. I'm not gonna eat the bugs. Are you? It's not better for you. It's just like he said, just so they can keep flying around in their jets. And they don't want us to spend any carbon, so they can have it all. They're going to tell us that we're killing the planet. Well, you know, that's not true. Climate change hoax. And the climate changes all the time.
Eating bugs. That's what they're putting on TV now. The food is their first attack vector. So I was on Fox Business 2 weeks ago. They asked me about an article the UN put out when the UN titled the article, Why It's Good to Be Hungry, Why Being Hungry is Good. And they were saying we need people to be starving because there's all these jobs that have to be done that nobody would
Are
do.
you
unless they were starving.
serious?
Who said that?
It was an article on the UN website. Wow. Like I said, Fox had me on to talk about it. They took it down after half a day because the backlash was so insane. But per the UN, about 868 million people could starve to death in the next 24 months, almost a billion. So Marxism, whenever Marxism has been tried in Russia in the early 1900s, about 25 million people starved to death. In Mao's Great Leap Forward, about 50 million people starved to death. Those were horrific.
I know that the Russians, the Bolshevik Revolution was organized by the Jesuits. My mind's went blank. I was spaced, totally spaced. Sorry about that. I'm not sure about the Chinese when and Mao. If he was like, had any ties to the Illuminati, which, here in America we have the Council on Foreign Relations. That's their fancy name for Illuminati here in the United States.
50 million people.
And they killed them too.
We're talking about almost a billion now. And so at a time when we have almost a billion people that could be starving to death, shouldn't we be trying to get as much food as possible out? We would try to do everything we can. But in Holland, they've gone and shut down the farms. They're trying to take over their land, and they want to take over the farms and stop them from growing not just food, but also raising cattle and meat. It's massive protests.
Cow farts are bad.
At a time where we need more food. In the United States, the farmers are being paid not to plant. They're not allowed to plant on some of their land. And they went and they petitioned the Secretary of Agriculture and said, hey, let us plant. We can get more food. And they said, no, it's not in line with our agreement for the Paris Accord.
Unbelievable.
Environmental thing.
Which is the environmental thing, which is what President Trump had pulled us out of. And then Biden's very first day in office, the most important thing he had to do by executive order was put us back into the Paris Accord. So we can't grow food in the United States because of, climate change. Holland can't grow food. And now the protests are happening all over the world. And it's even bigger. So like all throughout Europe, there's an energy crisis going on. Everybody should know that by now. And they don't have natural gas.
We've been sold
on Russia for natural gas. But we need natural gas in Europe to make fertilizer. And we need fertilizer to grow food. We also need natural gas to process food.
What are the three things that Kissinger said?
It's the food, and then the next one is the energy.
And the next one is?
And then the money.
Right, and that's what Rickers is talking about. CBDC, central bank digital currency.
For the greater good. I mean, Putin.
Yeah, well, if they get that, you're not. If you don't act according to the way they say you should, you're not going to be able to buy food. You're not going to be able to live. But 2030, own nothing to be happy. We can rent everything, right? That's what they want for you.
Putin saying that Americans
That's
must sacrifice and must suffer
New World
because
Order.
we have to defeat Russia. It's for the greater good.
But the Achilles heel is that third one, which is the money supply.
And that's the big one. In the Communist Manifesto, we had 10 points. Number 5 was the creation of a central bank.
Right.
So central banks are part of Marxism.
Of course.
That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
The central bank is communism, the central controlled economy. American system, not Americans, but most people are completely uninformed.
When communism was defeated in the 70s and really started in about the 60s, it kind of went underground. And it came into the universities in the United States. And so they've done a really good job playing this long game. And they started with changing the college-age kids' viewpoints on these things, who have now moved into media, who have now moved into government.
And this is going back. This goes back to what, the 60s?
The 60s, yeah.
Because in the 60s, I remember Columbia first time rioting. I'm going, why are they rioting? You know what I mean? But it was in the 60s. It was against the Vietnam War. And then when I came back from Vietnam, I got hit with eggs and spit out and called baby killer. It was college kids. It's not improved. Now we have TikTok. And TikTok is scrambling. It's turning their brains into scrambled eggs.
It is. It's bad.
And it's a Chinese organization.
The one thing that we have to our advantage is their ideas don't work. Left to their own, they fail.
That's a very good point.
So Nietzsche says, that which is falling, shall ye also push. So it's already fallen. The system's crumbling. The financial system is done. Like the EU's on the verge of breaking up. The bond problem that they have is one that they probably can't solve over there. The pigs nations down below, they're done. Germany has lost its position. The energy is too high. So the EU's on the verge of breaking up.
The pigs.
The
Philosophy
Portugal,
book
Italy,
from college.
Greece, Spain. So the southern nations in the European Union, Italy and Greece have to constantly be bailed out. They don't have any production. Germany has been the production engine of Europe, but now they've become a net importer. Because of the energy prices have gone so high that they can't afford to produce anymore. They have to import their energy. But why do they have to import their energy? Well, they shut all their nuclear reactors
Now
off.
that we've blown up
Over the
Nord
last decade,
Stream,
they've been
they
shutting
can buy it
them
from
down. So
us,
their energy
right?
prices
They can
have
buy it
gone
from the
up
United
by
States.
8 times. When next door, France, they still have cheap power because they still have nuclear. So in Europe, they have massive amounts of shale gas like we do in the United States, but they don't want to get it out. Humans can take a lot of abuse from governments, but when you can't eat or feed your family, that's when it's like game on, right? 9 meals to anarchy, they say. If you don't eat for 9 meals, it's on, right?
Who said that?
What they've been doing is they've been taking to the streets, sort of like we saw in Canada with the truckers, but now it's the farmers with their tractors.
That's saying a lot. Like, if things fall apart, they can only fall apart for 3 days. You got to fix it within 3 days, or people are going to lose their minds.
And they're taking these tractors and they're making the cannon.
I'll get my school bus and drive up to the top of a mountain, park underneath the sun with my solar panels, and I'll just hang out, for a little bit. These people eat each other.
Child play. I mean, they are out in serious droves. Some of the farmers got arrested. The farmers went to the police station, surrounded them, and made them release the farmers. They've been filling up the city.
Dude, that's awesome.
They blocked the airports. The fishermen have gotten involved. Now the fishermen are blocking the ports. I even saw the farmers broke into the military base and started dragging jets out of the military and putting them on the roads to block.
Holy shit.
But now it's spread to Poland. It's spread to Germany. All the farmers are uniting in protest.
So it's backing up. It's like the drain got clogged and now it's backing up.
So we have a little bit of hope, because
and so
people,
now they're like,
people
well,
aren't
we can't grow
stupid.
food, then no food. So you get no food then. And the shelves are bare.
I personally believe we're in a war right now.
Without freedom of payments, without freedom of money, there is
I
no
feel like
freedom
maybe
at
this
all.
is too loud.
So we're guaranteed a freedom of speech, but if I don't have money to buy a phone or go
I'm
on the internet
over
or
it.
print a pamphlet or build a website, I have no freedom of speech. And if I have freedom of assembly, but I can't pay to put gas in my truck to drive to the assembly, I have no freedom of assembly either. It means what it sounds like, so you'll own nothing to be happy. So what they think, what Marxism thinks, is that if we could take away your private property, you
promise I haven't watched this.
Like live in a commune, like communism, and we could take away human desire to strive and to have more, because that's what poisons us.
I want it all.
This capitalist system that makes me want to
working all the time,
which
is human nature.
Right, human nature. If we can take that away, people would be happy. Because right now we're unhappy because we don't have what we want. We're always striving. We always have to work harder.
Trying to turn this into work.
Take that away. But that's what they think. So you'll own nothing and you'll be happy because you won't need to strive. You won't see anybody else having something that you don't have. And they think there's this utopia, but they don't understand there's human nature, to your point.
I'm asking you, is it intent or is it a mistake?
The real struggle, the real axis of struggle is between the individual and the collectivist. Keeps trying to pull them into these groups.
So that's the leftist.
Individual identity.
Command and control.
Yeah. So they're all about their own individualism, but they don't want you to have it. They want you to be in the knee and be part of the cult. Oh, excuse me. Chili dog.
This is communism. It's called free market capitalism, but more importantly, is we're fighting for our freedoms. Like, I'm afraid to speak up now. Remember during COVID, they were censoring doctors. You couldn't say anything. It's tragic what's happening. So we fight for our freedoms more than anything else, not for capitalism. You want to be a Marxist? Be a Marxist. You want to be a tranny? Have a good life. Who you sleep with? None of my business.
Yeah.
But don't take my freedom away.
Yeah, don't take my freedom away, Robert Kiyosaki. I don't see where it says that you predicted mayhem in 30 days. This is a title that, this title is very misleading by the person that clipped this interview. But it's still very good information, and I learned a few things. Thanks for watching. We're going to go do something else now. Toddy's World, appreciate you. Oh, see, man, I just don't even know what I'm doing.
Well, I think it does seem like we're
Elon. Oh, we can keep going. Let's just keep going.
headed into a recession here in 2023.
2023.
That recession is debatable, but I think it's at least a light to moderate recession.
Yeah.
Potentially, it's
So I
on the
need to
order
move
of
my mouse
2009.
over. And then
So I think it's
say I'm
wise to
quitting.
kind of like prepare for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Rookie
Don't get
mistakes.
too adventurous. Like, watch out for margin debt. I really advise people to not have margin debt in a volatile stock market. And, you know, from a cash standpoint, keep powder dry. You can get some pretty extreme things happening in a down market. Like Fred Johnson, who was the CFO of SpaceX, was at Broadcom in 2000. And he said that, and that's a good company making good products.
Yeah, I
And
can't
he said
listen to him right now.
From peak to trough, I think in less than 12 months.
Sorry, Elon. That's just like you're killing my vibe, dude. You guys have a good day. It's okay. Nobody came in while we're live, but hopefully, you know, maybe some people will watch later. Have a good day.